Howdy y'all, it's Josh from Sandhill Acres here. Today we're going to talk about capturing a bee swarm. A few days ago, my buddy Samuel put out a call for help with what we beekeepers call a swarm removal, and I jumped at the opportunity to help him out. If you're not familiar with a swarm, it's basically a honeybee colony's form of reproduction. Once the queen determines that the hive is getting too big and strong, the hive raises up a second queen. Once that new queen is ready to take over the colony, the older queen and about half of the worker bees leave the hive in search of a new home. A swarm typically contains between about 5,000 and about 20,000 bees, and it flies as a single unit that looks like a dark, fuzzy ball, looking for somewhere nearby to settle temporarily, while sending out scouts to look for their new permanent home. Well, one of my buddy Samuel's colonies had split itself and swarmed and landed in a tree above his bee yard or apiary. When I arrived to assist, we discovered a second swarm about 20 yards away in another tree. Samuel and I quickly set up my ladder so that he could get up to where the swarm was in his tree. Then he put on his bee vacuum backpack. Now, if you're saying, what the heck is a bee vacuum? Well, it's a tool that beekeepers came up with and build custom or order from other beekeepers that allows us to safely and carefully vacuum up bees without killing them into a specially ventilated 5-gallon bucket. These things can run from about $300 to about $800, and they're a very useful tool when doing a cutout or a swarm removal. At some point, I plan to pick one up for myself whenever it makes sense. Ideally, the beekeeper will vacuum up the queen early on, then the rest of the bees will want to follow. If you get her in the vacuum bucket, she and the other workers will release communication hormones, which will tell the others to come join them in their new home. If you stick around to the end, you'll get to see this incredible display. Anyway, back to this swarm. Samuel vacuumed while I held the ladder for him, and he captured the queen early on, captured most of the bees that were in the swarm, and then he climbed down and turned the vacuum speed down. You want to leave the vacuum running in order to help ventilate the bucket and keep the bees cool. Then we stepped away for a few minutes to allow any of the bees that were missed or that flew off during the vacuuming process to fly down to the scent of their colony and swarm around the bucket. Then Samuel vacuumed those off of the bucket. We put the ladder in my Suburban and gave it a couple more minutes, and then we opened up the hive that Samuel had prepared for this colony and started to dump the bees in. After getting the majority inside and placing the frames back, Samuel replaced what's called the inner cover and dumped a few bees on top of it. Then we got a special treat. We watched as the bees on the inner cover started fanning. Now, they'll do this for a number of reasons, but in this case, it was to send out that message via hormones to the rest of the colony that a suitable home had been found. So we got to watch them doing that, which was pretty cool. And then the other bees started flying down and joining them. So Samuel did inform me that the remainder had pretty much flown down and in, and they were adapting to the hive, making it home. Anyway, that's the basics. The other swarm we captured was about 10 feet higher up in a tree, and we had to cut a branch down with a small chainsaw. Then the branch fell to the ground, and the bees started scattering like crazy and flying around us angrily. That one was a lot more interesting, but I was unable to video it, unfortunately. We were successful at capturing both swarms and adding them to Samuel's apiary, where they'll be protected and managed by a beekeeper, and where honey can be harvested. In fact, as a sign of appreciation for my help, Samuel gave me a jar of the honey that he harvested just last week from his apiary. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this swarm capture. If you have any questions about swarm captures or beekeeping in general, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, a comment, or subscribe, or all of the above, so that we know that you're enjoying this channel and our content, and we'll do our best to keep giving you more. Thanks a lot from Sandhill Acres, and y'all have a blessed day.